Tomatoes can either be grown from seed or they can be purchased ready grown at a garden center. One problem with tomatoes is when to plant them outside. Tomatoes are a tropical plant. They are very, very cold sensitive. And if you plant them outside in the soil too soon, they'll just stop. They'll stop growing roots, they'll stop growing foliage, they'll just shut down and wait for warmer weather. Preparation of the ground for tomatoes starts with digging the soil, preferably to a depth of a full fork, like so. Turn it over, and then level it out, even it off, and we're ready to plant tomatoes. The next step is to dig holes for the plants themselves. They should be somewhat larger than the pot that the tomato plant is in. In this bed, we'll dig 3 holes, giving the plants a lot of room. Tomatoes like to spread their roots out. Once the holes have been dug, the next step is to water the soil to make certain that it's very, very wet for the tomatoes. So we actually fill the holes a good part of the way with water and then let that drain. Now, while we're waiting for the water to drain down, we can cut some paper strips to wrap around the stems of the plant. That's a guard against cutworms. One of the sad things to happen is to spend time planting tomatoes and come out the next morning and find them cut off and dying. If you wrap the stems with paper, it will deter the cutworms, and your chances of having any problem from that is very small. Newspaper, any newspaper that you have around, this happens to be one that we just saved for this purpose today, can be used for these cutworm preventives. We're going to cut a strip, about 2.5 inches, 3 inches wide by about 6 inches long. We'll just cut all of them at the same time. Now we're ready to begin planting. We'll take one of these paper strips and the plant, remove the lower leaves from the plant. We'll take one paper strip, and it's easier to handle if you just fold over the top edge about 1/4 inch. Before we remove the plant from the pot, we'll just wrap the newspaper around the stem, time after time. Then we're ready to remove the plant from the pot and place it in the hole so that it is about 1 inch of the newspaper above the ground level. I'm going to use some compost around the plant to provide plenty of food and also to make certain that the soil around the plant will retain moisture. We then go ahead, bring soil back in around the plant, make certain that it's nice and straight, and make a little wall about 6 inches around the plant. That way, when you water or when it rains, water will be directed to the plant and make certain that it doesn't dry out. We'll continue on now with the next 2 holes. And this bed is ready, except for just one more thing. It's been said that tomatoes like marigolds. It appears that marigolds may have something to do with keeping insects away from the tomato plant. Okay, to finish the job, we'll dig a little hole, take a nice marigold, put it in position, and plant it. From here on out, it's simply a matter of watering the plants, applying fertilizer in accordance with the manufacturer's directions, and then harvesting the fruit.